Hi, everyone. Welcome to this live transmission. We are already back and rolling. Now, as you know, yesterday I was with Tone Mallard, and now I'm here with my beautiful Adriana Mezgova, whose solar return celebration was yesterday. So, congratulations. And
sharing birthday love and glow with everyone, all the joy that comes with that.
beautiful. Well, I know you were celebrating, and not only for your birthday, we were on a massive celebration ever since we were together in Sedona with all the cosmic and galactic tribe. Amazing event taking place from a space of unity, definitely higher truths and love. So that was very exciting. As you know, we had the Rise of the Guardians, we had the Day of Being, and also the retreat, the Return to Being. And well, now here we are with this very special topic that we can never get enough because it's part of our foundations, which is the Kryst Codes and the divine feminine and masculine, yet more coming from an approach of why Christ beyond the title that was given to a specific being or to a specific beings. It's more about its correlation with the crystal and the nature of what a crystal is and how it is embedded in our molecular structure, in our genetic structure, in our molecular, cellular, and so forth. So, of course, we will also be talking about this in a very spiritual way, as always. And we have very interesting codes to share with you guys, dear tribe. So, thank you for being with us. So, Adriana,
Oh
help.
my goodness, Isha, this whole Rise of the Guardians and then the retreat afterwards. My goodness, that was so powerful. I mean, just being in Sedona, it's a one thing. Being with like-minded people that are on the same wavelength, wanting the same thing that you've had in your heart, that Christic flame that you had in your heart that you were born with, that you were different from everyone else, that you never fitted in. And then you show up to Rise of the Guardians, and then everyone, it's kind of like you, a little bit different flavor, but their unified vision, it's on the same vibration as you are. So I think being together was just like, being in love, being in joy. That vibration was extremely high. And it was just so very powerful to be part of that. And then meeting all the people that were presenting different beautiful topics, right? Like I said, we each have a different flavor, and yet we're each so powerful. And then being from all over the place, didn't we have a person, David from Australia, all the way, right? So just
Yeah.
see how all of the star beings, light workers, what are we called nowadays? 5D, 5.0, yeah, being shown up there and bringing those codes from all over the world, it was so powerful. So starting by that, and then day of being was another thing, right? Like all the ancient wisdom and all the beautiful chiefs that you had, that you brought on, right? That they were talking about their prophecies and their sacred energies. And I mean, my mind was blown was people came with their crew from up above, and then my crew would meet their crew and they would exchange the information. So that's why these conferences are so important for all of us to get together, and these sacred trips are so important for all of us to get together. And it was so extremely like heart filling, like it really filled your cup. But you also purged, because when you're in a sacred place, you purge immediately what's not of your highest good. It just, people are mirroring. And nowadays, being in love, we get triggered, but we know it's from love, right? So it's not anymore like you did that on purpose, right? Like we don't attach. We understand that the person is going through something and release something, and you're allowing them to release something and hold that space. I've seen it around me all around, right? And people were healing and going into the next level. The amount of healed people that I've seen, I didn't see that last year. It was the next level this year. People have been really doing their work. But like, didn't we have our tourist rod just came from Hawaii? You know what I mean? The Hawaiian codes came in really strong. And I've heard a lot of star beings are being called to Hawaii now. Do you want to talk about the Hawaii a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you touched upon many important topics, like what is known as grid work, consciously or unconsciously, which is bringing codes from here and there. And when you do that with intention, as we did with the Stargate, then you're reactivating what I call the cosmic nexus. And there are different layers of the cosmic nexus. The one that was left after the last younger Dryas, which was pretty shaken. It was not in the best state. It was taking more energy to regenerate. This is one of the reasons why this reality needs to be really sped up to sustain, and to regenerate that cosmic nexus. And another layer is that once now that it has been more regenerated, we are stepping up into a stage of the next level of consciousness. And for us to experience, to co create through this next level of consciousness, you were talking about 5D. I like, we can also talk about 7D, seven density beings here already, doing the work, not behind the stages, actually also in front line, because we are all combining all these algorithms, 5D, 4D, like all the densities at once, because also depending to, like when we go to Hawaii, let's say, to what density are you connecting from? What level of density are you connecting from when you're in Hawaii? You can be connecting before younger Dryas. You can be connecting all the way through, like the first stages of Lemuria, or even before Lemuria. So depending to which stage you are connecting, you will be bringing in those codes. Sometimes we are aware of what we're bringing. Why? Because the memories are so vivid that you say, oh wow, I was this or I was that, and I did this or I did that. And so you're kind of aware of what codes you're bringing in. But when your presence is just receiving in that nourishing state of, the simplicity of just being, then you might be bringing in packages that later on you will start unraveling, like in this event. And then all of a sudden you will be having some outburst coming from nowhere, and you will say, ooh, was this Sedona, was this Hawaii, with this, that's the
Egypt.
and that's the beauty of multidimensionality, because then we get to truly understand ourselves, to comprehend who we are, and not in a very complex way. It's just trying to feel from which layer are we coming from? How deep have we gone within? And then, like if it's not very deep, you will say, okay, it was yesterday, I had, and all of a sudden I had this huge outload. By outburst, I don't mean something negatively, like it can also be, like, pam, like all of a sudden, whoo, I don't know how you experience it, but for me, every time that I'm having a huge outload, is my nose starts numbing, and then I feel all this energy coming through me, and then I need to start doing breath work to start not bypassing the information that is coming through, yet being very aware of what it is, or as much as I am meant to be aware at that moment. So now Hawaii is definitely calling us, and I say us because I myself I'm included. And why? Well, we were talking about Lemurian codes before going live, you know, and how they are very embedded in that land. I have also tapped into a hall of records being there, not in the same way as the one that we would see in Egypt or as the one that we would see in Piedras Negras, yet definitely a hall of records is a library like immersion crystalline technology that actually mirror into our own crystalline body, into our own crystalline lattice, because it's important to question ourselves, like, how and why is our water in its highest state creating a liquid crystalline lattice? Does that mean that we are crystal ourselves? We already know that we have magnetites in our brain, that our bones are piezoelectric. Piezoelectric is a behavior that also white quartz has, or silica, so all these parallel behaviors that allow us to know that yes, we can be crystalline conductors, we can store information as crystals. And now the question would be, what do I need to do in order to embody or expand that liquid crystalline lattice, and how is that related to the Kryst codes and to the divine feminine and to the divine masculine, and also including to the rainbow body, because a crystal projects the rainbow, and we were talking about plasma, we were talking about kinetic and potential energy. So before going there, and with what you mentioned about Hawaii, it's how like how Lemuria is now bringing into the field of awareness what we already have been talking for years, like, oh yeah, Lemuria, heart, Atlantis, brain, like all this analytical aspect. So now how is the Lemurian bridge going to intertwine directly into the lattice that was created by the Atlanteans? Because for me, that's something that we are also doing through the grid work. We are bringing in technologies together, heart technology and brain technology.
Oh, absolutely, YssaH. I mean, there's so many things. First of all, you do have a class coming up starting Saturday, correct? All about the rainbow body. So whoever hasn't signed up, you guys should sign up. It's going to be an amazing class. I've taken different classes with YssaH, actually every one of them, and they're all tremendous. Your mind's going to be completely blown. Same like her talks. So if you're thinking about it, you should attend to this rainbow body class, which will be tremendous. And then you absolutely touched upon a really important values that maybe last 5 to 4 years, we got a lot of Atlantean codes, which were divine masculine codes. And as a result, a lot of divine feminine was being reconfigured, right? So a lot of women went through a lot of upgrades first. And then now, currently this year, started from last year, it started the divine feminine codes, which are kind of strongly streaming in from Lemuria, which is Hawaii, but really the island of Kauai. Especially if you notice, a lot of star beings went to island of Kauai and are still going to. I wouldn't be surprised if you and I just jump on a flight and go for
Yeah.
3 hours, I mean for 3 days, and then come back with the codes. I still see that timeline that's actually active. So I'm
Yeah.
not surprised, and it might be like August timing. So kind of expect
Hey,
that this just might happen out of blue and out of nowhere that we're both going. Also, if you look at it, Lemuria, Mu, it's actually mother, right? It's a strong mother, Mu. That was, then we have a Mu in Egypt. Come on, let's connect the dots here, right? Isn't that beautiful? So it's all leading to Egypt, but it's all leading back to Lemuria, but it's all leading to Mexico too, right? Like, last year, I remember when I was in September at Equinox in Egypt, I met so many different groups. And they all, everybody who I met got called around May, June to show up in September to Egypt, right? Like it was just so strong. And then we did Mexico, which was absolutely unforgettable. I mean, everyone who has gone to Mexico never comes back the same. You've been to Mexico, you have this next level. You're connected, you're open, you've had your contact, you've integrated, your parts of the soul back in. It's such a wild terra energy that you receive, but yet pure love, right? Masculine, feminine, that takes place in Mexico. And then you just continue, right? Like even as you were talking about the Lemurian codes, and you said the one prior to Lemuria, I felt the dragon. You know what I mean? So like that whole dragon underneath of the main island. And they say different levels, what you also touched upon. Do you need regeneration? Because Kauai will restore the Lemurian codes in your body and give you complete and utter regeneration if that's what you're seeking. Are you seeking to be more in a 3D? Because as you know, we create and express, and we're seeing this here existing. It's a 3D. I could be operating from the 5D. I could be operating from the 7D, right? But I am still in a 3D playing this record, being shown in this reality for the others, being part of this consciousness, influencing this consciousness with my vapes. And have I noticed how much we have influenced the consciousness, including down to, since Sedona, since the songs that Rion put out, which is tremendous. The words, the vibration, the melody that he put out, I can start seeing them popping up in Matrix, right? Like changing. So that's why I think it's so important for a person to be really authentic, to be in their coherence, right? Because the more you are authentic and coherent and stand in your truth and own who you are at every given moment, even it might be perceived as ugly, even though it might be perceived as boring or annoying, or whichever way you're judging that expression of yourself. That's why it comes to that inner work, owning every part of you. Because the more you can clear the distortion of some old belief that was either placed upon you or that you've taken on in a childhood from someone else, you become more coherent. And as you become more coherent, then you radiate more your true essence, right? And I think that's what people have seen when we get together, when we gather, when we get all these upgrades. I mean, we're elevating really beautifully. I wish that people could see some of your presentations and all the codes that you have translated. My goodness, you've put them together so beautifully, especially in the terms of plasma. What is the plasma? It's the mother, it's the heart, right? It's that wave. I always see your round, circles with the triangles in them and then making the waves. And what is that but being part of the matrix? And what is that? What did I learn in Mexico? That when I want to power and push through something and really install it in the matrix push back. But when I'm loving and respectful of matrix and I'm doing this for the love and joy, matrix allows me to flow in, just like the waves that you created in your presentations. And
Hmm.
I think that's when that mood, that heart, that mood comes on board. So please continue. I would like for you, I know there's a lot of
Well,
pieces here brought in.
you.
Melody and music. Check on Ryan's DJ Star Lord music. It will really get you moving on so many levels for each chakra. My goodness.
I know this is why I have been, like sharing all of his songs, because it's a genius way in which he has actually implemented not only the frequency yet the wording that makes you constantly, ground and remember. And so I think that we require more of that. We require a lot of art, creativity, because creativity is the space where we occupy our place as creators and co-creators, where the space is limitless, where we just need to imagine and bring that into words, into a picture, into a code, and there are no limits. And when we understand, remember, comprehend how the whole fractal field works, I can assure you that the drawings that you did as a kid will very much resemble to the life that you're experiencing right now, because you were bringing in that field of information of that which you wanted to experience, that which you wanted to be, or even, fears or wounds. But all of that was, like bidimensionally imprinted, and then through your thoughts, through your life force, you started bringing that bidimensional render into a holographic projection, as in this holographic reality. When we acknowledge that we are partly a holograph, we're holographic vessels, because that's part of our nature as well. And then you come to truly comprehend the power of how you can bring alive all the codes, the geometries, and how the geometrical universe functions, and how these stargates and all these ancient technologies were all about geometries and the resonance and between the frequencies of each code, because each one carries a very specific tone that together create this majestic construction of reality that it's capable to shift whatever, to interdimensional travel, to a timeline shift, to open up bubbles of reality, to, just peak, to, yeah, just peak, again, limitless. And the thing about, like all these beautiful things that you were saying about how each one brings their own flavor. I and you as an alchemist, an amazing, amazing, amazing one. You pretty much know about that. You're an expert on that, because as in unity consciousness, the moment that each one occupies their own place, then harmony is. The moment that the lemon flavor wants to be pineapple flavor, it's like, why am I not pineapple flavor? Then, it starts to try to move the pineapple flavor and become a pineapple flavor. That's the moment that the reality starts to collapse. So even though it's just a funny, analogy, but it's true, So the moment that we step up and embrace who we are and fall in love with that which we are, then we start to be that clear transmission, which is very much related to the Kryst codes, because someone here was asking, So one of the things besides the piezoelectric nature of the crystals, and like the refraction, how, just imagine, just to give just a small example. When light comes, a ray of light comes to into a crystal, instead of the crystal just reflecting it back in the same direction where it came from, it will come inside the crystal and come out in another direction. That's what we do. All the information that comes to us will never be the same again. Why? Because it already has from our own universe. How powerful is that? We're continuously exchanging codes. Sometimes we put like a lot of weight on, oh, I don't want to exchange codes with that person, which is cool because you are having your boundaries, your healthy boundaries. But just imagine that the fact that just the two fields are in the same space, there is a slightly an exchange of light. The other things that come, like densities and so forth, is because that's the way that the misconductive way that we were taught about being afraid of our magnetic energy. How? Okay, if they don't explain us what is our magnetic energy, then how can we use it? But once we master our magnetic energy, an example, black hole, ooh, like Mufasa, ooh,
That's coming up lately, as of late, a lot. So please tell us more about that.
Yeah, sure. Like, for instance, we see all these eyes in the artifacts, and one of the things that they are representing is the nature of our own eyes, which I always say, our own eye is a black hole. Everything that receives photons and emits after a filter, radiates back light, it's a black hole, the foundations. So all the movies that you have seen of this fearful forces that leave nothing behind, that's not true. Our protons are tiny black bodies, black holes. This is how they stay together. So that's our nature, that's our magnetic force. If we embrace it, then we are capable to acknowledge that we can connect to the light. What we are absorbing is the light. And also we do absorb by resonance. But if we're in a state of fear, that's what we will absorb. And then again, you repress, you compress, you contain. If you release, then you know that it's a continuous back and forward. So then you know that you're absorbing light and you're emitting back light. So now that's one of the things of the crystal codes, acknowledging what is the true nature of the crystal. You are exchanging continuously, inherently to your reality. This is also the principle that of the observer connecting to the consciousness, that consciousness can only be created through observer. There are many ways in which consciousness can be created, but definitely in these realities through the mirror, as I have been explaining with the hands. If you put the two hands facing one side, like both facing north, you are not exchanging. There is no hand exchange codes. What you're exchanging with is with that north. So the consciousness that you're generating is with the north, but not between the hands. If you want to generate consciousness through the hands, and with the hands need to face one another. And this is the principle of unity consciousness. How can unity consciousness be if we're not capable to embrace one another and continuously mirroring? And that doesn't mean that you need to overstay in mirrors. You can choose, but not escape, or unless you want to, which is different. Because there is also the principle of resonance. When there is not any longer any resonance, which you find yourself, let's say at a hand with 4 fingers. You don't see yourself anymore in a hand with 4 fingers. Perhaps you before felt incomplete, so both were mirroring. But now you became aware that your finger was all the time there. So now you don't fit into this mirror anymore. So then it's okay also to start face locking with other hands that are mirroring into you. None of them is lower, weaker. It's just a principle of resonance. And that's the beauty of it. Well, what would you say about that?
Oh my goodness, you touch upon so many things, but I do want to touch upon what Eliza, who's a dear friend of mine, and we share wisdom back and forth all the time, is saying, connecting through the high heart, right? That's another black hole. It's the high heart. It's where we create from, where it comes in, where the desire manifestation, the most powerful. That's why heart is your really strong power that you have. But as you were talking, let's go back to flavors for a split second. If that lemon really wants to be a pineapple, right? Then lemon is not being its authentic self, because the lemon can say, I'm too sour, I'm too yellow, I'm too prickly, and he forgets all the beautiful things, that it's refreshing and juicy and uplifting, and that what constituents create the lemon, right? Like it has D-limonene, which brings joy and happiness in there. And the science of terpenes is something I work with, and aromatherapy is something that I'm really well versed in, right? So let's say he really badly wants to be the pineapple, but he doesn't have a constituents or shares some constituents. And that's why we learn Reiki. That's why we learn singing bowls. That's why we, take different things, because we're learning pineapples and apples. And then you find out actually that there's terpenes in strawberry and pineapple and apple. They're just all slightly different, and in the same lemon and in oranges and in kiwi, right? You just find out how same we all are. Something how you go unity consciousness, the terpenes in each one, fruit, vegetable. Let's breach into vegetables, into celery, into basil. They all have terpenes. Right now I'm gonna get too chemically, alchemical over there out there. But how really connected we are. We all have a water, right? In our body. We all have 2 eyes, 5 fingers, right? Like nose, we're breathing, we have lungs, right? We're all really the same, but we're here to be a different flavor, meaning express our soul melody, our resonance at the different level. And what you said, everyone's important. There isn't one that is better, because I watched when we were at the conference, Jose, the amazing coffee maker, he stood there and he had this magic of coffee, and he wasn't even the coffee, because coffee has its own vibration, but whatever he brought as he made you that cup of coffee or that cup of chocolate, anything, I would have drank anything from him, because he had the most unified, beautiful codes in him, right? Like, and he was sharing, and I watched him. I observed them and watched them, how he shared that joy and love with everyone, of being his true self. And then you find out he had a book. He wrote a whole book about the coffee magic. You see what I mean? So it's like, what are you passionate about? Find out what you are passionate about. Like Eliza, our friend over here, she sells crystals. She knows everything about the crystal. You spoke about crystal as her comment came up. She deals with them. She knows everything about them, every property. She wraps them. She makes these beautiful, unique, necklaces, right? And she knows that it will find the right person to wear it. And to everyone who I have ever purchased a necklace had made by her, and gifted it completely resonated, because she encodes her own codes, right? Like she's being really authentic. So connect to your high heart. What is that black hole? Stop being afraid of the black hole, because that's where the gold lies, right? Please tell us more about the black holes, because that is the secret.
Well, when we talk about the black hole, what is inside of it, and if we say that it's absorbing light, then what happens next is that there is a way that I'm going to simplify it, a way that in which the particles interact, that they start to generate gravitational waves. So those gravitational waves are, some of them will come into something else because, okay, before getting there, let's say that we have like according to the universal laws or the Kybalion or so forth, there is the principle of polarity. Okay, so for every positive, there will always be a negative, as in the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Now, um, the way that we have comprehended the negative is huge because we have been told to kind of be afraid of the negative, but actually in our body, and I will go there in a bit, but in our body, the more electrons, the more dielectric field that we generate, the more coherent our structured lattice becomes. And the electric field is very much connected to the feminine. It would be the Mary Magdalene that is, like surrounding, well, not surrounding because, again, the model of the atom is kind of different, but it's the energy that is actually shaping the field, shaping the space, and generating the connection. What does the feminine do? Connecting, unifying the feminine energy, the divine feminine. So the electrons are non-local coupling to other electrons, transferring information. So now in the black hole, let's say again, we have positive and negative. So then we will have a black hole and a white hole, which bottom line is the two mouths, as in the wormhole. So at the center, because the black hole does have a center, which is known as the singularity. That's where the information from mouth A comes together with mouth B. Now, this is super important to also understand how we need from a critical mass to actually shift to the next stage of consciousness. It's not that we need to be the same number of beings co-creating a new earth in love, joy, and unity to the ones that are trying to destroy it and create, dictator state of or a dictator or suppressive system. No, you just need a very specific amount of beings that are enoughly powerfully enough to be equivalent to the ones that are trying to generate the different, the contrary action. So then you have, let's say, 1,000, 1,000,000 guys trying to mess up the earth. And then you have, let's say, 144 beings that are doing things accordingly to the divine source. With those 144, it's enough to actually be equivalently in the energy density. And what's going to happen next? Both are going to suck to start becoming to one another. Why? Because they are symmetrical, and those symmetrical forces are going to come together, generate a torsion that is going to create the wholeness of a singularity and a new reality. This is why, in order to, because then you will say, okay, so then the ones that were the good guys, the 144, are going to get entangled with the ones that were trying to mess up reality. From a quantum physics approach, is more about creating a higher truth together. Remember, light and light. Because in order to mirror to another force, what you're truly mirroring into is light. You're absorbing light and emitting light. You're absorbing light and emitting light. The big distortion is thinking that you're not. And we're so powerful that if you think you're not, then you end up not doing that. you know. So I'm not saying now that there are not people that are trying to send up messy things or entities back at you, or beings, or yes, because that's a reality that has been created. But just remember your foundations, and then you can actually, start working on that. This is why people remain in access so powerfully, without being moved by anything, because they work through that principle, whether if it's from a state of awareness or not. They're not moved. That's the wholeness, because you know that you see the light within everything. You see the light within everything, and that's the wholeness, because ultimately everything is light, just at different gradients. So now, the so now that when it becomes a singularity, and then together they create a higher truth, then most, for instance, if these 144 were mostly in higher resonance, then of course that will be the highest gradient within the torsion. Like when you're making a purple, you will have more blue than red. It's, they don't have to be again equivalently the same, so then you will have more of that 144, yet with some of the foundations, because again, a new reality does need positive and negative. The thing is that they come into a new stage of consciousness, because they were capable to breach into unity and into that space of wholeness, to actually bring in, to birth the new earth. And we can translate that into the feminine and masculine. you know we know that there are toxic masculine and toxic feminine, or divine masculine and divine feminine. So that also addresses to that. Just to finalize with this, just imagine you have a divine feminine and you have a toxic masculine. What happens in the black hole? What do you think? What would happen?
I think that divine feminine would brought out the toxic masculine, called it out on its shadow and distortion.
That's a very good one. It collapses. They actually repel one another. Why? Because they are not creating any symmetry. They are so different that they will repel one another. We can relate this to levitation. If you want to make something levitate, they need to repel. So, and this is what they have been trying us to do, by separating us, thinking
Mm.
that we are so not alike, that we have been repelling one another and not being capable to go into fully into that next stage of transition. But this is very much connected to what you were saying before. This is why in these events we truly go into the next stage of consciousness, because we mirror into one another so deeply that is like, like all of a sudden, you go into the beauty salon, and then ta-da, and I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, I'm brandly new. So, because there is a huge space of trust, letting go of what you are not, and just being present, because you also mentioned something beautiful, which is coming from a space of not feeling part of anything, and then you come to a space where you feel like, yay, there are more like me, and I can talk of whatever I want, and nobody would look at me like, what is she or he talking about? So and that this is why these spaces are so expansive. So now bringing this to the divine masculine and divine feminine, or the toxic masculine and the toxic feminine, is, how would you, in your experience, how would you say that you have found points, because you have a huge mastery in how, and wisdom, in how you treat this. So how would you say that you relate them? How does the divine feminine and the divine masculine end up relating to one another, going from from toxic to divine? Let me rephrase it. How would you say that is the process of going through toxic to toxic, all the way going to divine, divine?
Oh, interesting. Oh my goodness, there's so many different ways, and there is no wrong or right way. Um, there just has to be recognition. Okay, so we're born with the ego, and we have ego installed that protects us. Though, from childhood, don't touch the stove, don't cross the street without looking to the left, to the right. Ego's job is to protect us, but then we also take in beliefs from other people and from parents, right? And our surroundings to what a life should be. And then let's say we meet someone who's, of course, going to be complete opposite of us, right? And as they do, I mean, even at the event, it was so interesting to watch people and to exchange what they believe in with whatever you believe in. And literally standing there going, oh, is that what you believe in? Oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. That just totally blew my mind. Like, thank you for sharing the thoughts you've had, because it just expanded my universe, right? So let's take these two. We have a divine masculine and divine feminine. Look how different they are, right? She's feminine. She's got them feminine curves in every way. She's birthing a new reality through her whole womb of creation. And then he is here to be the warrior, right? To represent the masculine. Look how different they are if you really look at them. Very, very different. And so how do you get them to relate? They would say men are from Mars and women are from Venus. What is Mars? Planet of war. What is Venus? Planet of love. Right? Like, so where do the men come from? Where did the women come from? So first we'll meet and we'll irritate the living life out of each other. Like, there will be this magnetic pull, karmic pull, astrologic pull, I like to call it, right? And now we got to work something out, man. We've been entangled before. We've done this before. Or you carry a vibration, I carry a vibration. You bring in something out in me, I'm bringing something out in you. And we're meant to work through that, right? So we're going to mirror like this. And we can say, oh, I never, like supernova happens, right? Like, this, like two strong, pew, out of that supernova, you're going to have a baby. In your reality, you see what I'm telling you? Like, when two people get great along or don't get great along, you'll notice two people who totally don't get along have a child, right? And you're like, how did that happen, right? The supernova in the brain, because that child was born to bring the two opposites polarities into, one thing. But now, so please, people who don't get along with your spouse, can you get along with the partner you have a child with? Because it's so imperative for the child's well-being that you respect the opposite polarities. And this is just a tiny, tiny thing of we could do for this reality and this universe. Have a respect one for another. So you literally can meet, you see we never see our own toxicity. Come on, Isha, you know this, right? Like, we all know this, but we will always, even Bible talks about that, where it says that you will see the tiniest speck in someone else's eye, but you don't see what you carry on your back, like a big piece of wood. So that's why we need mirrors. We'll meet someone and then you'll go, shoot, is that what I'm carrying? I didn't know. My life was hunky-dory until I met you, right? And then we go, it's your fault. No, not their fault. They just mirrored. Go ahead.
The famous finger.
The finger, yeah. So the key is, when something gets highlighted and you sit with yourself, that's where I do. I sit with myself deeply. Wow, why did that come up? Because it's mine. Guaranteed it's mine. It's never yours. It's mine. And even if you're accusing me of it, what in me brought that out in you? The words that I said, the actions that I acted, what inside of me? Right? So sit with that. And that's the higher heart work. Sitting with that peace. Because we're so different. But the supernovas, what did you say? I go, back to the one thing you taught me about the DNA. When DNA wants to bring a change, and I have chills to this moment every time I think or talk about it, it coils itself. Doesn't just lay there on a couch chilling, I'm going to bring a change. No. It coils itself. It needs something else to be mirrored by. And so a lot of wise people say, welcome the obstacles, welcome the shifts, welcome the mirrors, the triggers, because it shows you where there is no light, where there's darkness, something you haven't highlighted yet, haven't brought the healing to, haven't faced. Some people don't even have the ability to face it. I'll meet some clients and they're like, oh, no, I can't go there. But that's where the gold lies. That's where the learning lies, right? That's where the shift lies between the polar opposites. And they'll go, oh, I'm not going to be with that person. I said, good. So now let's just watch the next one come along with exact same thing.
Yeah.
And it'll happen because it happened to me. Like, why am I talking about this? Because all of this that I'm naming, all of it happened to me. If you think I'm standing there, a holy Christ on a rock preaching, no, plenty of shadow I'm still working on. And I welcome all the mirrors that come my way, right? So that is how we transform. That's how I transform. I go deep inward. When I have supernova with someone, okay, what inside of me supernova with them? I probably hurt their feelings somehow. What did I do? You know, what is my belief that's triggering them? Oh, they triggered me too in some sort of way by just rejecting me. Why did they reject me? Right? Like, sit with that piece. Why did I feel rejected? Where is the rejection piece from? Right? Like, there's a lot of wealth and wisdom in it. And I'm not saying go be the best friend with the person if they triggered you really bad. No, take the time, take the months, years. You can tell your guides, take the lesson easier a bit. Can you break it down, more lovingly, because this was too harsh. I'm still reeling back from that one. But every time I've seen people have their heart broken, it was because their heart was meant to be rebuilt. And that heart could be broken from family member, from friends, from any kind of betrayal, misunderstanding, abandonment. And all of those are areas for healing. And it's just so very powerful, so extremely powerful. And each polarity brings us such a blessing. As you know, like this masculine, it's teaching us how to have a mask, to put on the mask, have a different personality of a mask to carry on. Like, now I have to be a warrior. Now I get to be a silly, goofy guy, or I get to be a wise guy, or I get to, bring in the wealth of information through me, right? Like, I carry that who I am, and I feel safe. Like, how long has been divine masculine not treated correctly in this society, expected to fulfill a certain role without celebrating every shade of and nuance of the emotion that they bring in? You have to be strong, you have to be a warrior, you have to be a provider. Unless you show up this way, then women are not going to want you, or men are not going to want you, whatever your preference is, right? And then feminine had to be subdued and play weak so the guys would like you or whatever, like a certain roles that were imposed on us that they wanted us to play, opposed to allowing us to really express who we are. Sometimes I'm more feminine, sometimes I'm more masculine, sometimes I'm soft and I'm crying, and sometimes I'm firing and I got my bow and arrow and I'm shooting everything in my sight, right? Like, it's beautiful, all of these different codes that we each carry and all of the wisdom that we have. And I mean, being at the conference or even just meeting someone, what I'm noticing lately, people are just desiring contact. There is pandemic of lonely men out in this world because they're stuck in a toxic masculine. thinking it has to be a certain way and women are not that way. And why are women not that way? Because they had the Atlantean Lemurian codes that they worked through. And now they got to work through the Lemurian codes, right? It's their time to heal. So they're sitting alone. So there's pandemic of lonely men that need touch. And you know what I tell them? Hug yourself. We all are here for ourselves. So hug yourself and love yourself. What do I always tell myself? I love myself. When I'm going through something, my first line is, I love myself. I'm going through it and it's really hard. But guess what? I honor and love myself for going through it because my goodness, it's hard. It hurts bad, but I love myself and I accept myself for it. All the parts of me, I love them. Love is the key. We had a comment, somebody was saying, love is the key. Love is the key because that vibration of love gets you to vibrate way higher. You don't solve a problem with the vibration of problem. You solve a problem by assuming you solved the problem.
Exactly. That you're already, at the event horizon, or at the center of that singularity, where you're capable to see the whole information without attaching to anything. And I do believe that that part of attaching to things is makes what makes it difficult to actually move into a next stage of evolution. Because if we say, like, how does that attachment reflect into at a mesoscale, in our biology? If there was an attachment of the particles, then non-locality wouldn't happen. Exchanging back and forward with the field wouldn't happen. We wouldn't be able to tap into the akasha. We wouldn't be able to tap into, why? Because we would be fixed into a reality that it's requiring from all your energy instead of releasing and freeing your energy to just be navigating through the field, So, and like that's a whole another topic. Perhaps we should do 2 shows out of this because it's a vast topic. When you were talking about the contact, I said, wow, like reality is so sublime that we're now talking about the ET contact, like the contact with the galactic groups and the disclosure. And it's like, dude, the first contact that is needed is between us, like that level of intimacy. And when you were talking about that mirroring, answering to the question that I put out there, as for me, like there are 5 main pillars of acknowledging, how you are navigating in a relationship. The first one are the foundations, like what it requires to create, what you would say, your own kingdom. If we were talking about archetypes, what it takes to create your new earth. Are both at the same level? Are both at the same? And then from that, you will say, okay, so I am doing this, he's doing that, or she's doing that, or whatever, and then, like any part that you see that is missing, instead of putting it out there, it's just looking how you are generating that. Because then the beauty of acknowledging the responsibility within give us the authority to resolve it. If we put the problem outside, how can we solve a problem that is outside of our field? And but then again, this doesn't mean on the the problems of everyone, because then like that's a fine line. It's a fine line. It's whatever is in your field that is generating distortion or is consenting distortion, then just go deep within and correct it within you. Because like based on this attachment, like relationships, there is also another fine line between doing and shifting in order to grow together than doing in order to stay with someone. That's a huge difference, because when you do in order to prevail or sustain or something, then you're doing it out of an attachment, and then that will lead into higher toxicity. But if you do it because you feel and you're aware and you believe that it's for your highest good, then that's different. That's the two Fibonacci's, or the two golden ratios, going into the spiraling deep within until they meet together at the center. That's actually how potential energy and kinetic energy relate to one another. The cube and the sphere, it's through the golden ratio. And if you put two golden ratios, they go through the spiraling in together until they meet. So another thing, another pillar would be is the passion aspect. How is the passion aspect? And then you revise on that. The other one would be the emotional body. you know do you feel secure? Do you feel safe to open up yourself without being judged, without being attacked? Are you capable to open into the next stage of vulnerability, and feeling that the person that you are with is nourishing that vulnerability and being vulnerable himself or herself, you know? And again, without judgment, which that's huge, because the moment that there is a judgmental behavior, it's not the same pointing out into something than just there is a difference between pointing out something and doing something. Like you can do while you're pointing out something, but if you just stare and point out, and then it's better questioning yourself, what are you doing? you know what are you doing there? If you're not mirroring yourself anymore there, then just stop pointing out and then just move. Otherwise it's going to create another flow, and not again. And then the other thing is intelligence. Like, how many brain orgasms do you reach together? It's how much did you trigger or like inspire the creation with one another, and are capable to bring it. But I want to wrap it. It's like interesting. It's the foundational part, then the sexual energy part. Like how much can you feel your creative force flowing, and going all the way to heaven and bringing heaven into this earth. How much do you trigger the passion within one another, inspiring that tantric? And I'm not saying, in this ultimate perfect relationship. I'm just saying it, remember, you are the limit of your creation. It's up to you. The limitations in your creation are as deep and as profound or as non-existing as your perception is. So now, then it would be the creative force, that tantric form of experiencing one another. Being in that state of bliss, continuous, not all the time, but continuous state of bliss, in which you can be appreciative and grateful for what life is, seeing the beauty in everything. That also brings in the creative force, because you're creating a new perception, a new reality at every moment, because you're discovering new light and the light in everything that you see. And therefore, remember crystal, exchanging codes with everything. So you're expanding, expanding, expanding. Then
the new reality.
The new earth, exactly, the new earth. Then it would be the emotional body, then the intelligence body, and then it would be the spiritual body. How much do your spirits connect with one another? How much of the mission that you have here on earth is actually making it stronger for you as a couple. Be present for the ones that are meant to come alongside with you or to you or through you. And we have, hey, Jean Charles. Hey, Zach. Hey, Amanda. Yeah, we have, thank
Oh,
you.
nice.
Beautiful.
Everyone's showing up, all the family. Hi, family. We love you so much. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. So those five pillars, it's a continuous, because again, it's sometimes you might face the question, like, there are so many patterns within, that you might question yourself, is this for this, is this for that, and you question yourself and you question the other. But then again, we have been talking about mirrors, and the purer the message, the higher the truth that you achieve. So remember, it's not about forcing things. True love does not force. Source love let everything be. Puts the intention, puts the energy for sure. Yet allows, once it's aligned, it let everything happens. Because source creates from here and also creates from here and from here and from here. But as a result of the creation here is that all of these ones will simultaneously be manifesting. So it's very important to see from which point are you creating your reality from. Is it from source? Is it from here, this reality? And that will be very equivalent to, or in correspondence to, the limits that you might or might not have in the way that you perceive how your creation might go.
Can you say the 5 pillars again for everyone so that you can kind of summarize them, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the first one are the foundations of co-creating a new earth together, your earth. The second one is your connection, your intimate connection through your sexual energy, through the creative energy, through the tantric energy, how deep the connection is, what the results are. Remember, like analyzing all of this. The third one is the emotional body. How much does your emotional body nourishes or not from the relationship? Why? The fourth one, which is the intelligent body, or the intelligence body, which is how many brain orgasms and higher truths do you reach together? Is there resonance in the way of thinking or not? And the fifth one, which is the spiritual bodies. How does everything that you, or most of the things that you're experiencing, is the emission of what your spiritual bodies are doing or have done in other realities for you to come together? And how do all these 4 layers accompany or embody the transmission of source and your spiritual bodies? Because remember, even though it's the fifth, is the most advanced one. So how does spirit expresses through you in all these 4 previous levels?
So do you think you can write a book about this now? Because I think everybody here would love to actually learn more about it. I think attachment, something that I really touched upon was the attachment. Like, we all have this sense of control. When we incarnate in reality, there is no manual. So the mother, father are the manual. The ancestor are the manual. This is how you deal with that. This is how you deal with that. The friends are the manual, right? We're learning by mirroring from the others. And so then we're like, if I cross the street to the left, to the right, I look, there's nothing coming, I can cross, right? It becomes the golden rule. That's a pattern, that's a control. And then let's say we see someone else get hit by a car, because then they look to the left, to the right. Oh, now we become controlling. Every time look to the left, to the right. Every time look to the left, to the right. And then, so let's say now we meet someone else who doesn't look to the left, to the right. And of course, it's the supernova. We meet them. There's attraction, because now this has to balance out, right? Because your belief has to be that anything at all times can happen and all the possibilities can happen. And that's what we're learning at every time. And to respect everything and be cognizant of everything and to be true to ourselves at every given moment. So then we'll meet somebody who's completely opposite, and that's how we will get into a relationship with that person, friendship, whatever you want to call it, co-workers, partners, doesn't matter, romantic, anything of the kind. Depends how much you have to learn the lesson. So they'll show up for you. You see what I mean? So that is when that attachment, oh, no, you always have to look to the left, to the right. No, you don't. You just go, you listen, you follow your intuition. You know what I mean? And then that's where that supernova will continue to happen, because these two are meant to learn. So then what it can happen, let's say supernova happens, I'm never seeing that person, me neither, okay? So then this person will get stuck. Or I'm never gonna go out and meet anybody ever again because that was too painful. I'm never going to allow myself to feel that level again. Or I'm never going to love anybody. I really only want that person. And they want that person, and they come after that person. And this person is like, no, I don't want to ever see you again. Like, go find somebody else. Guaranteed first step, because I do a lot of relationship coaching, manifestation relationship coaching, is if you manifested this, you're going to manifest this again with someone else, like so similar. Like if there's David number 1, there's going to be a David number 2, there's going to be a David number 3, whatever the name you want to choose. Or Adriana number 1, there's going to be Adriana number 2, Adriana number 3. Maybe she's called Isha now, but it doesn't matter. It's still going to be the same vibration. I can say this because I've done this in my own life. The second I detached, oh, it's not going with that person, it's fine. Let the next one come in. And what I always add, because it's my reality, oh, it's going to be even more loving, and it's going to have more passion, and it's going to be even more fun than the one before. That's what I always put into my reality, yeah? Because it's my reality, it's my creation, and that's what I soup it up. That's how I write my codes. So the next person will always show up, and guess what? You get to work with them on that limitation, on that control, on that old belief, because it becomes outdated belief. It served you when you were 2, 3, 4 years old, but now you're 25, 27, right? And it's not serving you. You're meant to expand your reality, to have different beliefs. So here you're going to meet that different, whoever he might now be called Sam, or might be a Brianna at this point. And then you're going to try it and be learning to let go of that control with that person, right? And if it doesn't work out with that one, what I always say, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they would couple up for a lifetime. They also lived like 30, 40, 50 years. We're now living 100 and over 100. You don't stay with the same person, especially if you're not growing at the same level and wanting the same things. Right? That's why every 8, 10, 12 years we meet different people. We kind of look how many relationships you astrologically, it's kind of like set up that way. You either grow together or you grow apart, and don't judge it. Oh, I'm never going to love again. Yeah, you are. Guaranteed. You just got to let go of that old thing, because honor it. It was such a beautiful lesson. Same with friendships. What do I always tell you? I'm an astrological freaking geek. And I'm always, if I lose one Aries, guess what? Aries on a high vibration is coming in. If I lose one Capricorn, higher vibration Capricorn for the new levels coming in. And back to not knowing everything. Let's say I'm not very good at math. That's why I take classes from someone like you who's teaching math, right? Or someone who's teaching some sort of a spiritual knowledge or science, or let's say I'm not good in financials. I usually will probably manifest someone who's very good at financials. and they will be teaching me that, or I will take a class and I will get that skill. That's how we get the skills. This is the school of life. We came in to learn this,
Yes.
and here we are supporting each other. And what you were talking about was a personal relationship. It's two different universes colliding. There's always a lesson. Don't get so attached that it didn't work out. It's going to work out with the next one, or it might not. So what? Detachment. Enjoy the moment, the present. What is that book? The Power of Now. All you really have is now. Yet a lot of our reality gets created from the past, from the old attachments and beliefs of what it should be. Right? So many changes. So yeah, that divine masculine feminine, it's deep on so many levels. What you brought, the 5 principles, tremendous and amazing. And one has to be coming from the 7 or 90 to be able to meet at that basic principle, to understand, to honor, and to truly appreciate for someone showing up in your life.
Yeah.
Because where did I start? People are lonely. People want you to be present for them. I'm going to end with this one. I was talking to my daughter, and then I received a text message right in the meantime. She was asking me something, and I said, mm-hmm. And she literally said, Mom, did you just say, mm-hmm, because you did not hear anything I said and just wanted to pacify me and answered with the mm-hmm? Or did you actually hear what I said? And mm-hmm was like an okay that you agree with whatever I just said. And she brought me to my present in the moment. This is what people are looking from other people, even your pets, when they scratch with your paw. Give me attention. They want you to be present with them. The power of presence. So please go on.
No, I mean, I think that you touched on so many deep and right on spot topics, and presence in every way, in every type of relationship. It's so required right now because there are so many things. Some of them are distractors, some of them are things that we really need to take care of, because also we are being called to deliver many things, which is pretty awesome because we're in a stage of expansion. Yet being present in each one of them, that capability of grounding within one of them and not losing yourself within all of them, that's a huge difference. Expanding through them than losing yourself through them, and that's where we are not in access, and where our principles of why we're doing it is not through enjoyment, yet through need or the idea of responsibility, or but when you do it because you feel passionate about them from a very state clear, then you will expand through them. You will, even though it was like a super full of activities day, you will finish your day with a smile. Even things weren't all rose and petal, rose and honey, or petals and honey, but you enjoyed it. You're satisfied because you're doing what you love, and that's presence as well. Presence in a relationship, it's super needed, because then a lot of people don't want to be present in the relationship because they are not enjoying it. So another red flag is when you're not present in your relationship. If you're not present, if you're just all the time in another reality or in other realities, is because perhaps just ask yourself if you're trying to escape the relationship, or if there is something that is trying to limit you from grounding in the relationship, which is also possible. There can be different wounds, or that can be trying to disable you from being present in the relationship. But again, that's different depending on in which state of comfortability and an integrity with yourself you're in the relationship. So now the pillars that I mentioned, they applied actually for everything, even the relationship with yourself, like starting with yourself. How is your own divine feminine and your divine masculine, how are they coupling together and doing all those manifestations, those pillars of creation. And then the only difference is if you apply it to someone that you're not romantically involved with, then of course the second layer, which is the sexual part, would not be considered into a physical state, because again, something that there are many ways of you exchanging your codes. And for us, we are very literal and we just say that having sex with someone is if there is intercourse, like of the two bodies coming together. But actually, we're all the time exchanging codes with everyone. Like my codes are penetrating your field and your codes are penetrating my field if we allow that. So if we translate that level of penetration, then we're talking about already a sexual relationship. But the difference is when there is not this desire. And let's go to the desire. How much has the desire has been doomed by some belief systems? You shall not feel desire because then desire brings craving and brings dissatisfaction and brings blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that if we don't feel desire, then how can we inspire and trigger our inspiration, our creativity? So the difference between that would be desire, like applying those pillars, those 5 pillars to a relationship or to whether if it's a friend, whether if it's family, a family member, without that desire aspect, of the grounding side of it, you know, because sometimes we underestimate what the connection of our genitals is. It's like, seriously, think about it. We're capable to create another being through that. So, how powerful is that? You know, I know that the more that you detach from the mundane, you don't you're not eager to you could not be eager for those type of practices. Nevertheless, you know polarities will always bring you to come together, accepting both of them into another stage of evolution. So the balance, it's always the healthiest way to go from my experience, because it's also facing, that your body is here right now, and it does require also to be nourished in every form, because when you nourish your body in every form, your body is happy. If your body is happy, your body is in harmony. And then again, this involves like other type of habits, of practices, and how important also these Kryst codes and the the liquid crystalline lattice tells us of the purity of our emotions, the clarity of our words, the purity in our intention, because that enables big time for the liquid crystalline to be drinking structured water, uh, breathing quality oxygen. And speaking of which, just to summarize, because I need to go, as you know, but I would love to have a part 2 because there is so much information coming through. So um, stay tuned because we are having the retreat to Damanur from part like the Way of Being Foundation. We are organizing it, so stay tuned for more details and how it will look like, because also there will be some alliances there. So it's the Way of Being Foundation plus other members of our beloved galactic tribe that will be joining us in this quest. And also, we have an upcoming trip to Egypt. So stay tuned for more information. And Adriana, any words that you want to say, and where can people find you so that they keep on tuning into your beautiful wisdom?
Find me with YssaH. Show up to Damanhur, show up to Egypt. Let's tune. This is a beautiful tanzanite. Let's bring in energy of tanzanite to everyone, especially at the third eye. Deep breath in. Take another deep breath in, let it all go. That was a lot of information, a lot of codes we shared with you, Kryst Codes today. Thank you for all of your energy, for attaching with us, sharing with us, co-creating with us, any shape, form, or way. We're thankful and grateful for your connection to us and the love, wisdom, knowledge. Thank you for being alive. Thank you for being here with us, sharing this unity consciousness and creating a new reality. We love you. We can't wait to see you next time because we have a lot of wisdom to share with all of you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful sound bowling short session. It felt very long, a very long one, because it was profound. It was beautiful. Thank you. This is the beauty of sound. Like, really brings, that integration into harmony. So thank you so much. Thank you all for all the beautiful tribe, for your beautiful comments and presence. Ceci, Saif, Rachel, Stephen, LEC, Tori, and of course, and Charles, Zach, Amanda, everyone who joined us in this transmission, in this live transmission, and to the ones that will be watching this after. Thank you so much. And join us at the Star Knowledge Conference. I will be in South Dakota, 5th to 8th of June. So if you want to get your tickets, you can see the description below this video, Eventbrite. And it will be very much of bringing back online the unified tribe. So this is going to be a super important event. It's the 30th anniversary, so you can already have an idea of how important this event has been throughout 30 years now. So very honored to speak there. I will be talking about how the cosmic, the Native American tribes, the ancient tribes, are deeply intertwined to this galactic mission, how they hold these galactic codes, why, and many more information that I will be talking about their galactic presence, into this community, the DNA that they are carrying, which is also very, very important and very hidden. They have a very important genetic code. Anyway, so also the Basis Project in London, and also the event 5D in Sedona in July. So, and the upcoming trips that Adriana and I mentioned. Also, there will be some in Mexico, so stay tuned. A lot of things coming up in the upcoming months. Thankful, grateful for sharing with all of you. Until next time, and thank you, Adriana. Absolutely.
Love you.
Creation as always. Until
Love
next
you all. Bye.
Bye.